comment a little bit on two things, and it seems rather well connected to what we just talked about. If I understand it right, we've added onto the consent agenda a proposal to put on the, I believe, November ballot, a proposal to bond ourselves as a city to some as yet undetermined amount, but probably somewhere between 40 million and 60 million to repair roads. And that comes out of a very widespread recognition that we have a problem with our roads. We got no shortage of potholes and we don't like them. And we have sidewalks that have issues. We now just had a presentation that says, if you would like to come up with a vision for how people get around in your city, and you make it a good enough vision, although good enough is this full mitigation part that I'm not too clear on yet, but if you make it good enough, you can tell the county that whenever we do new development in Lake Worth, the money that we used to send as concurrency fees to the county, we get to keep ourselves. But I think we heard very clearly that the gentleman might want to do our plan, but they don't want to tell us what our vision is. And here's where I think all this stuff comes together, and it comes together with the last workshop that we did on the roads. Right now, as I understand it, we've basically inherited the vision for working on potholes and our roads. We've inherited from the previous bond issue when we said, dig up the road, do it right, do it once, replace it exactly how it was. And that doesn't include much of a new vision. And as we just heard from these consultants, there are a lot of different ways that cities can look in terms of thinking about different modes of transportation, different benefits, health benefits, sound benefits, pollution benefits, heat island benefits, whatever. My concern is that we put the bond issue on the consent agenda. One of our commission members did a quick move, and the mayor supported it, that we are not going to consider any removals from the consent agenda. So basically, there will be no discussion of this, and we're just going to stick it on the ballot. That, to me, sort of blows circuits in my head. It runs a whole 100% counter to what these consultants, what they're saying. We're not going to tell you your vision, and that's why I was asking the question about community capture. And I don't know what he means by community capture, but in my head, something like the concept of community capture is you get people together and have what is sometimes up here called a robust discussion with some facilitated help of some professionals who might be able to sketch out what different things could look at, and with some people who have some actual practical knowledge, like they've actually walked in Florida in August, or or bicycled in August, and bringing some reality checks to this whole thing. Have that robust discussion of what we want our city to look like. I personally think that the fact that we've committed to tearing up the roads totally, for the ones we're going to fix, gives us a huge opportunity. You don't have to put them back the way they were. You could bring some smarts into the process and say, hey, we do have some other objectives. We might, in fact, want to thin our lane widths from 11 feet to 9 feet, or whatever it is. We might want to use some of that space for traffic calming that's built into the road, so you don't have to spend as much money on speed enforcement. Or we might want to build some of that into planting trees on it, because we know from studies around the country that that is a very strong way to add value to properties. So it's a pretty smart thing for a city to do. That discussion and some real numbers on it and some real opinions and some real community involvement strikes me as a really good idea. And I don't see how you get it when you stuff stuff on the consent agenda, because then you don't get any discussion.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you. I want to let everybody know that I had the good fortune of participating in a neighborhood cleanup in the Osborne community this past Saturday. There were about 30 participants. It was really hot. It was real hot. But there was a great turnout, a lot of enthusiasm for the effort. And I did want to point out, I tried to call the city manager on Saturday, but she won't pick up. I don't know why you don't pick up on Saturday, but just kidding. I saw your
your number come up?
Fine, I was gonna be nice about this. No, we have a city-owned property, I believe it's on our surplus list on Douglas.
Quiet in the chambers,
We have a
quiet.
city-owned property on Douglas, okay, that was probably worse than the whole neighborhood combined. And I'm just wondering if we might be able to get a city crew down there to pick it clean and cut the grass, and, you know, if we want people to keep their property up, we need to maintain our property as well. And it was an embarrassment. The other residents pointed that out to me, that it was city-owned property. So I was gonna go back and pick it up myself, but it was really, really hot. You know, but there's a lot of garbage there, a lot of garbage, and we should be ashamed of ourselves to allow our property, our city property, to go in that direction. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Meyer?
Thank you. I attended the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council meeting, their monthly meeting this Friday, July 15th. As was the theme of the last several meetings, this meeting, no different, was the theme was water. That was just the Treasure Coast Regional Planning Council staff, Ms. Delaney, who was reporting here earlier about the Blue Way project. The meeting started, however, of course, talking about the green algae issue. Comments from Jackie Thoreau-Lippisch, who is a commissioner of Sewell's Point, described her drive across the bridge to her city as looking more as though she were driving over a golf course than she were driving over water. The water is still so green. There were many comments made that state officials knew about the green algae before it even reached the coast, and there should have been greater public notice explaining to residents how to stay safe and healthy during this crisis. There are potentially many factors contributing to algal blooms. Council staff has agreed to create a fact sheet of everything that we currently know about algae and what are the potential dangers to the public. So I look forward to bringing that fact sheet to the city of Lake Worth as soon as it's available. I was also pleased to see that we started having the Blue Ways project discussion. I know that our neighboring cities, West Palm Beach in specific, has been discussing this project for possibly the past 2 years in open meetings, though as far as I'm aware, this is the first open discussion that we've had about the project here in Lake Worth. So I'm glad to see that out in the open so that we can examine the potential benefits and also the potential dangers of the project. At the last regular commission meeting, we voted and approved what was called an energy conservation program for the city of Lake Worth. This was a partnership between the CRA, the Electric Utility Department, and Adopt a Family, a nonprofit organization. We voted to approve that agenda item. A few days after the meeting, I met with Executive Director Matt Constantine from Adopt a Family at the Lake Worth Adopt a Family Center on 2nd Avenue North here in Lake Worth. I saw some really great programs there, providing meals to children who otherwise do not get to eat breakfast or lunch. They had this fantastic activities yard that had a half-court basketball court that was designed with children in mind who do not actually have backyards, so they can come to this center and they have this fantastic play area that frankly I'm jealous of. And of course, as always, they have education, family counseling, and the biggest thing when you're dealing with the homeless population, of course, is that they are addressing housing. The housing model for Adopt a Family is to find available rental apartments for somewhere between $500 and $700 a month. Any of you who have recently rented apartments or are currently renting know that it's pretty hard to find something at that rate currently, really anywhere in the city. But to a small degree, it does exist. I hear people in this city say often that we need to clean up this city and we need to address the homeless population. I would put out that while this ordinance may have had the best intentions to help an ailing population, that by you have a demographic here. You have a demographic who can only afford housing from $500 to $700 a month, and that's not because they don't work. This might be two working parents who have children to feed, and they just can't come up with any more money than that, and so that makes them a demographic. My concern is that through this program, we could actually begin to start eliminating the availability of that housing, of affordable housing that can be rented for $500 to $700 a month. And if we eliminate the availability of that housing, we are also eliminating the only known solution for the homeless problem here in the city. And it also sets the standard for other cities to follow in that same practice. So, and if I came across in the last meeting that I was throwing an accusation at anybody, I'm not. I don't think that we're dealing with evil parties here, but I think because this program does not provide protection for the people who will have their homes inspected by code enforcement, by Adopt a Family, because this program does not protect them from what could potentially happen to them. I think that we have, everyone hates the G word, but this could very easily be a tool to promote gentrification in the city. And I would hate to see that happen, and I think that as we move forward with this program, we really need to review it and make sure that it is only there to help the residents of Lake Worth and not displace people from their homes. And I just finally, I would like to comment that I was disappointed to see the play up here where one commissioner wanted to comment on something on the consent agenda. The consent agenda, consent is something that we offer. If a commissioner does not offer his consent on something, that means we do not have consent, and I'm disappointed to see that we won't discuss something openly that obviously touches a lot of people. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Mercer.
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of calls on the water notices, the boil water notices. Just for clarification and share with your neighbors, it's because we're actually doing the work underneath the streets and repairing the water lines. So it's not for any other reason. And those notices have been going out, and I just want, because I have a lot of people call, what's wrong with the water, what's wrong? There's nothing wrong with the water, but if you get a boil water, that means they're replacing the water lines in your district or in your area. A reminder, we've got 2 more movie nights downtown, July 22nd and August 12th. July 22nd is Inside Out, and August 12th is Monsters, Inc. Yay! I was very happy to be appointed to the State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg's task force on sober homes. We had a robust conversation last night at Parrot Cove. Thank you, Parrot Cove, for inviting us in. Senator Jeff Clemens and also Commissioner Materio from West Palm Beach were there, and we were able to answer a lot of questions. I'm very optimistic that we are moving forward with some thought patterns and legislation that we can take to Tallahassee in January, and I look forward to having those conversations and bringing back that information. And last but not least, we got it today, which I thought was a little crazy, but if you've noticed, there's work being done on the other side of Lake Worth in South Palm Beach across from Bryant Park, and they're putting in the new rocks and the new the areas, sanctuaries, and tomorrow they're looking for volunteers. This is from and it was sent today. So they're looking for volunteers tomorrow morning from 9 a.m. to noon to help plant. So if anybody can give up an hour or 2 in the morning, join us, and they're looking for people to help do some of that planting. And we've done it before for Snook Islands and other areas. Sorry for the last minute notice, but if you're available tomorrow morning, it would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to mention last time when we had Captain Bear, when you gave the report about talking about services, and they're providing different types of things for the community along with their law enforcement. I just wanted to reiterate a couple of things. here in the city of Lake Worth, in an effort to aid PBSO with the ongoing prostitution issues, they've partnered with Mary Miller Compass at Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office to implement the PIPE program, Prostitution Intervention Prevention Education. It's a program that's going on in the city, effective July 15th. Anybody arrested for prostitution or solicitation will be court-ordered to participate in the PIPE program. And this is a way to address it from the street level, you know, and getting into people's lives and livelihoods and trying to turn things around from a very grassroots way. In addition to that, Deputy Victoria Johnson was selected to be the District 14 Residential Liaison for the PBSO Behavioral Services Division. It's basically Deputy Johnson will be acting as an intermediary subject expert regarding the mentally ill within District 14. And again, we know that we have a lot of people that need, you know, that whether they're mentally ill in a variety of different ways, suffering dementia, whether they have Alzheimer's, whether we have, you know, many of the people in the homeless situation in our city are facing a lot of these diseases too. And PBSO has now created a tool and two tools on two different aspects to kind of help us deal as a city with that. I think that's very commendable, and I appreciate it because we've needed it for a long time, and I hope that helps us in our challenges. Also wanted to mention the Lake Worth Art League, yay! They had their first show, was it the 16th? Is that? Okay. And I guess most Saturdays through December 24th at the Casino Building and Beach Complex right there on the ocean. Art al fresco is scheduled to take place 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays. So check our website, you'll have all the dates on that. And also pickleball still happening, yay! Who hasn't played pickleball yet? Show of hands. No pickleball? It's kind of like ping pong and tennis on a tennis court, but it's easier. It's a lot easier on your knees, that's for sure. And it's a good form of exercise. We have adult pickleball now in a day class and a night class, Wednesday nights. So if you're interested in pickleball, it's by the way, he sends me miscellaneous facts. The sport of pickleball has been around since 1965. It remained a well-kept secret until 2008. It certainly did, didn't it? When it became a game hit in the senior market. Today it's estimated that over 2 million people play pickleball. And by 2018, and you've seen specials on this, there are going to be over 8 million pickleball players nationwide. And younger people are starting to get into it now too. A lot of males, a lot of females too. But it's starting to pick up as a recreational opportunity. It's actually much easier on your knees, much easier on your shoulders, and still a good workout. So if you want to be a part of pickleball, I know Steve would love to have you. And if anyone see the West Palm Beach magazine, they featured the Taste History Culinary Tour. You know the culinary tours that go through Lake Worth all the time? Well, we had probably the most stops on the culinary tour, and they wrote up all of our businesses and locations that they stopped off at. And it was a beautiful article, so if you get a chance, pick that up. That was awesome. All right, moving on. We've got a big agenda.